The wheels within wheels aren't angels. They're a living part of a craft that is a throne that have cherubim in it along with God. So the Lord is a fire from the waist down and a bright amber appearance from the waist up being. The wheels are next to the cherub. 4 wheel beings and 4 cherubim make up one throne. Thrones are alive and infused with the spirit of the cherubim like Synched technology. Domes within domes, firmament above the head of the cherubim. A form of hands under their wings, so not a hand. Coals of fire within the wheels, fire from amongst the cherubs that they handle with their hands. Wings control the movement of this living craft that has thought-controlled movement. And there's eyes all over everything, wheels, rims, wings, and they can take the form of a man. That's just the intro. Ezekiel 10 is fire crazy. Learn a lot in a short time by paying attention to some key details that I'm going to show you from Ezekiel 10, a little before and after, which you always want to do to get the context, and a little bit from Ezekiel 1, then we're out. Could you face an angel taking you by a lock of your hair and teleporting you somewhere between heaven and earth? Well, that's where we find Ezekiel. He's chilling in his house worshiping when this fire amber being, who's the Lord, takes him on this journey. Somewhere between heaven and earth, he talks about the firmament above the head of the cherubim. Repeatedly, we'll be coming back to that. He also mentions the throne of sapphire. Video plug on my page about God's throne. Let's jump right into the text with some key details I'm going to point out. In verse 5, you discover the cherubim's wings make noise. A lot of noise. The wings sound like many waters, like the tumultuous noise of an army, and like the voice of God Almighty. Cross-referencing this also with chapter 1. Verse 6, you see the mysterious coals of fire and fire from amongst the wheels and amongst the cherubim. Let's read verses 8 through 14. The cherubim appeared to have the form of a man's hand under their wings. Form of a man's hand? And when I looked, there were 4 wheels by the cherubim, 1 wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by each other cherub. The wheels appeared to have the color of beryl stone. As far as their appearance, they all looked alike, as if they were a wheel within a wheel. Some artist depictions of these wheels within wheels. Some will be more accurate than others. When they went in any direction, they did not turn aside when they went, but followed in the direction the head was facing. Verses 11 through 13 describe how they move and how it would be very unconventional for modern aircrafts, completely higher technology, and how they move at the speed of thought. Wherever they think they want to go, they go. As for the wheels, in my hearing, they were called wheel, which is the Hebrew word galal. Check it out. Galal means wheel, whirl, whirlwind, which is very interesting. We'll be coming back to that. And war chariot, God's Merkaba, which we've told you. Even the prophet Daniel saw the same thing. Check out his usage of the terminology, wheels, thrones, fiery flame. It talks about the 4 faces, the lion, eagle, ox, and man, which each one have. And wherever it goes, you're seeing each of the 4 faces from whatever angle you're looking at. Also from all of these descriptions, you can see how there's a wheel underneath each cherubim. 4 wheels and 4 cherubim comprise and make up a throne. Multiple times it says the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. This is like synced up neuro-spiritual technology. Oh yeah, and the cherubim have hooved calf's feet and they sparkle like furnished bronze. And this appearance of the form of the Lord, that's fire from the waist down and amber brightness from the waist up, is referenced as the glory of the Lord. Also, you see constant references to fire, amber, coals of fire, fire, bronze, and beryl. References in chapter 1, the living creatures, the appearance was like burning coals of fire, or the appearances of like torches going back and forth from amongst the living creatures. Bright fire and lightning flashes. Wherever the spirit wanted to go, it went, because the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. Finally, at the end of chapter 1, there's a lot more references to the sapphire throne and lots of firmament weirdness, layers of firmaments, where it talks about firmament above the cherubim's heads. There's either layers of firmaments, domes within domes, or God's Merkaba has its own firmament. This special technological throne with 4 wheels and 4 cherubim that God rides on, with the appearance of fire from the waist down and bright amber from the waist up, where there's flashes of lightning going on, where it's a whirlwind appearance coming down, that possibly has its own firmament. It's fascinating. Ezekiel's fire, lots of other fascinating rabbit holes and gems, like the mark of God, which is a seal that he put on people that served him, that he had an angel put on. You see the same mark of God replayed in Revelation, where the locust army from Revelation 9, the bottomless pit, only attacked the people that don't have the mark and the seal of God. In Ezekiel, God has an angel with an inkhorn put the mark on people, and angels with battle axes take care of those who don't, which is a frequent theme you'll see in the society of heaven. There's tasks, there's orders. They have to complete tasks, report back, and do things. It's a total society. Also, God's problem was that there was so much sin, and sin in secret, especially with Israel's leaders, and they were actually worshiping other gods and doing rituals and worshiping other gods in secret. Pretty sorry. Also, the common people were in a state where they thought God had just abandoned them and wasn't paying any attention to them and wasn't watching. So they would frequently say, God's abandoned us, who cares, let's just do whatever. While getting darker and darker on the inside in the spiritual climate. I think a lot of us can relate to that today. I get it. But hold on. Also, more gems coming in the future, like Ezekiel's mysterious soul eaters. Soul hunters with magical charms that apparently are real. Trapping souls Shang Tsung style. In close, Ezekiel was taken to heaven in a chariot, a fiery chariot. Swing low, sweet chariot. Could it all be the same thing? The wheel, the whirl, the Exodus pillar of fire. Was it the same as the whirlwind in Job? Are all of these things the same thing? Check out one more really interesting verse at the beginning of Ezekiel 1. Then I looked, and behold, a whirlwind was coming out of the north, a great cloud with a raging fire engulfing itself, and brightness was all around it, and radiating out of its midst like the color of amber out of the midst of fire. Also from within came the likeness of the 4 living creatures. This whirlwind, God's Merkabah, this chariot, this wheel whirl, combined throne creature, is the same thing. Pretty fascinating deep dive. Also, God answered Elijah with fire from heaven. God's got a lot of fire. Could all this be related to the mysterious orange orbs I captured in footage and did an episode about recently, the invasion of the orange orbs? Could be. Speaking of Job, he never really got an answer. He just needed God to show up. And as soon as God showed up, and he had that reminder of who God was, that was all he needed. Till that fiery chariot comes to get you, don't get Mandela affected or frequency warfared out of your faith. You never know who's watching, or who might show up one day to grab you by the lock of your hair.